Hey guys, Chris Meets with Anywhere POD. Today I want to take a minute and go over a little bit more in-depth training on Cricut Design Space and some of the different options that you have for SVG files and how to give your customers the best SVG files that you can to make using your designs as easy as possible for anyone that purchases your digital listings. So we already have a few SVG files loaded in here. If you missed the video on how to create these SVG files and how to create the flatten color SVG file, I'll leave a link in the description down below on how you can generate these files. So let's go ahead and jump into it and get started. Okay, here we are now in Cricut Design Space. And if you're selling digital files and you haven't played around with Cricut Design Space any, I recommend it because this is something that a lot of your customers are going to be using your design files in. So it's a good idea to kind of familiarize yourself with it and understand what it is that customers are doing and how they're using your images. So we have our two SVG files loaded in here. We've got our regular layered file here, and then we also have the one that has the flattened colors. So I'll load both of these in and we can show you what they look like. So we're going to click on this first one and click on Add to Canvas here. And once this is loaded in, we're going to go ahead and resize this a little bit so we can see what it looks like. So here is our design, and you can see over here that each element is its own individual layer. We do have these grouped by color to make it a little bit easier. A lot of your other SVG conversions, so if you're using even something like Adobe Illustrator, it is going to have your groups a lot of times based on the word itself. So if your word has a lot of different colors like this, it's going to be very hard for your Cricut customers to separate that out to be able to print it. So if we don't make any changes here, let's just leave it as is, and we can see what it looks like when we come up here and go to Make It. And we're just going to click any material here and click on confirm. And there's our one yellow, and you can see here, so this doesn't look anything like our design file at all. Now that's not necessarily wrong. The reason why Cricut does this is by default, Cricut is going to try to save as much vinyl for the customer as possible. So it's going to stick all of the elements together up here side by side. Depending on how complicated your design is, can depend on, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. In the end, it's something your customer can control, and so we want to make it as easy as possible for our customers to get the result that they want. That is the reason why we have the option to at least group it by color, because that will allow your Cricut customers to separate these a lot easier. So if we wanted to use this SVG file, what we would need to do is group each of our colors. So we're going to come to this main image and we're going to ungroup it so each one can work individually. And then what we would need to do is come in here and select all of each color, and then you can right click and go to attach. And now you can see all of those are attached under one. So if we go to make it again, you can see our colors that aren't attached are kind of spread out, but if we go to the color that we did, you can see that it's kind of laid out where it would fall within the design, making it a lot easier for your customers to place this and weed it out once they print this. So you can imagine how difficult that would be if we didn't have our colors grouped together. So here's an example of how SVG files a lot of times look when you export them out of Adobe Illustrator. You can see here that it has grouped together by word. So if I turn one of these on and off, you can see it's by the whole word. So if I want to print this out, if I come over here to make it, you can see how it is combining all the letters. They're not broken out. So if I want to be able to attach those and be able to lay them out in the design, I have to go color by color. So I'd have to come in here and find each color to be able to then right click and go to attach. So I'd have to go through each one individually, and it's a lot of extra work for your customer to be able to set up their design in Cricut. Okay, let's go ahead and remove this one, and let's come back over and now get our flattened SVG file where we flattened our colors. And you can see how much this is going to be able to help your customers that are using Cricut. So again, we bring it in here and we'll resize it down so we can take a look. Now if we come over here and look at our individual layers, you can see that each color is its own individual layer. So I have this loaded in, I haven't made any additional changes, and I'm just going to come over here to make it. And you can see our H here. Let's look at our other colors already laid out correctly for our customers when they come into their Cricut software. So the only downside that we see to using only the flattened color file is that if we want to select a individual element within this file, there is not an easy way to be able to do that. So if I had an element here that I'm not wanting to just print out the full design in Cricut, I'm wanting to do something else with it, there's not really an easy way to do that. So that is the reason why we recommend that you offer both the flattened colored image for your Cricut users and then also just the regular SVG file that has all the elements broken out and is really flexible that way for whatever your customer might want to use the design for. They have both options to be able to either make it really easy to use in Cricut or be able to grab any individual elements that they want to be able to use anywhere else. So I went ahead and loaded in our black version of the same design. So you can see for a design that doesn't have many colors, the difference between the two options. So if we come in here to the first one, you can see when we first loaded in, all of our letters are their own layer. So if we come over to make it, you can see Cricut by default is going to lay everything out, again trying to utilize as little vinyl as possible when this is cut out. Now with a single color design like this, it's pretty easy for the customer to correct. They can easily come in here, select all of them, and just click on attach. And now when we come over to make it, our design is going to be laid out correctly, and it's going to make it a lot easier for them to print it out. But if we jump back over to our flattened version of this file, let me go ahead and remove this. And here's our version where we have the colors already flattened into a single layer for the customer. And we go straight into make it. You can see our designs already laid out correctly for the customer. So we think this can be a big benefit to your digital files, make it a lot easier for your customers, and a lot more likely to get repeat customers on your digital listings. Because if they buy one design from you and they see how easy it is to load it into their Cricut software and all the different options that you give them, they're going to remember you in the future and remember, hey, that guy, that file was really easy to use. I'm going to go look and see what other designs he offers in his store, because they're probably going to be set up the same way and easy to use. So we hope this tool is able to help you guys out. And if you have any questions about converting SVGs or anything else to do with digital listings, feel free to reach out to us at support@anywherepod.com, and we'd be glad to help you out.